Hello, my name is Janice B. Gordon, and this is Scale Your Sales Podcast. Welcome to Scale Your Sales Podcast, listed number 9 of 43 best podcasts for every sales professional. I am Janice B. Gordon, the customer growth expert, recommended by LinkedIn Sales as one of 15 innovating influencers to follow. Now, in this 200th episode, I review some of the last selection of the last 15 or so episodes. Make sure you go back to episode 199 because I review about the last highlights of the last 30-40 episodes. I am so privileged and so honored to host Scale Your Sales Podcast because I've learned so much in the last 4 years interviewing experts, influencers, founders, CEOs, CROs, sales leaders, people that are really making change in the industry. I interview a diversity of people from all over the world, and I feel that the reason why this podcast is always in the top 10 is because we're constantly moving the envelope. We don't talk about, sales in its traditional sense. What we're talking about is how we need to modernize sales to be more customer centric, to be more focused on our customers and buyers' journey. This is the essence of Scale Your Sales framework, and doing that through a diverse sales team working in a global economy that is diverse and as their buyers are. So this is really important to me and important to Scale Your Sales Podcast. So I've reviewed the last 15. Please do connect with these experts that give their time so generously and honestly share their vulnerability, their mistakes and their successes and key practical strategies to help you to scale your sales. I'd love to hear your comments. Please share this episode and connect with the guests. Thank you so much for helping to make Scale Your Sales Podcast such a success. Now let's delve into the reviews. Welcome to Scale Your Sales Podcast. Now, this is episode 200 of Scale Your Sales Podcast. Now, that's quite a milestone. When I set out almost 4 years ago to start the podcast, the aim really was to start to platform a diversity of voices. In sales, when you look at salespeople on sales leaders or experts and influencers that have got great content to share, some of it great, on stages, they all look the same, white men. And when at the time 4 years ago, when I looked at all of the popular sales podcasts, again, it was very similar. And I wanted to change that. I don't look like them, and I hope I don't act like them. And some of them are my best friends, right? So I haven't got anything against white men. But the industry does need to change to reflect the buyers and the customers. And I've been campaigning for a long time to make that happen. So I wanted to start a podcast that very much reflected that change, in the hope that the message of what really came through about the positive aspects and the real benefits of having a diverse workforce in sales, revenue generating sales, actually makes you a better seller. It actually makes the business more successful by doing that alone. So over the last 200 episodes, not exclusively, we talk a lot about the changing face of sales, and Scale Your Sales framework. Core to that is the buyer experience and really flipping sales on its head, being outside in rather than inside out, and focusing on your buyer's journey, your buyer experience, accelerating your sales by understanding your buyers deeply, and the customers and what their goals are and where their business is going, and aligning yourself to your core group, your key customers. The people are often 20% of your customers that bring in 80% of your revenue. The ones that are really the fans of your product and your service, your brand, that are going to be your own sales force, talking to other people about their success stories and the relationship that you have, and they help to bring on board more of the similar success customers. So that's what the framework is all about. So the podcast is very much to reflect modernizing sales to be very much buyer focused. I'm going to continue to highlight some of the people I've spoken to on the podcast from, episode 187. But please go back to episode 150, that is a review, and episode 199, and you'll get so many of the highlights. In episode 187, I talked to Sarah Brooks, who says sales is the school of business. Sarah is a Chief Revenue Officer of Zoa. Now, we talked about the power of the energy transition through brilliant customer experiences. So she was really talking my language, customer experience in sales. How energy companies need to work hand in hand with consumers and their customers to stop climate change. We talked about recruitment in sales and her experience when she decided to take a break and really evaluate where she wanted her next move to be, and the lessons that she learned in that recruitment space. And we also talked about customer centricity, as her role as Chief Revenue Officer of Zoa is to ensure that the organization continues to be an outside-in organization, and what that means to all of the resources under her remit, how they continue to reflect and support their customers and their customer as they carry out their mission. Sarah has so much experience of success and success stories. Make sure you connect with her. She is such a shining star, an adorable, insightful person. So another really insightful person is Mick Gossett. This is episode 191. We've got into the 90s. 191. He is CEO of Joint Flows. Joint Flow provides solutions to both problems by streamlining the closing phase of the sales process, bringing alignment between go-to-market teams and increasing visibility in deals and operations. And it's really interesting, kind of looking at these highlights. Mike Gossett, with Joint Flows, very much focuses on the closing phase. And I have a guest that talks about the prospecting phase as well coming up. So it's really interesting looking at different aspects of the go-to-market team strategy in order to grow revenue. So this is about bringing alignment between the go-to-market teams and increasing visibility in deals and operations. We discuss Mick's view that 80% of sales success is deal management and only 20% is sales methodology. And it's really interesting when we investigated this further. Mick said that, you often find in teams, and I've certainly found this, that you'll have team members that have come from different routes into the company, and they're used to using a particular methodology. And although the company has one methodology, they'll often do kind of a hybrid of the two, but they're still successful. And people often work with what they know and they're comfortable with. So you'll often have a new sales leader that comes in and they work with certain platforms and apps and methodologies that they bring in from their old business into a new business because that's what they're used to, that's what they're comfortable with. So it's different from the top all the way through the organization. So people are at different places with their methodology, but yet they're still successful. So it can't be the methodology that's creating the success. And what's changed through this discussion I had with Mick is over the years and pandemic, in the way that our buyers want to buy, they're so far through their buying process rather, before they want to speak to a sales professional, a human being potentially, that, you know, much of the selling is done without the salesperson in the room. It's about how they kind of manage that deal. And if you're better able to manage the deal and understand where people are in that process, and they could be at different stages within the same organization, then you're better able to manage them and bring them all up to a stage where they're able to make a decision. Absolutely makes sense. I hadn't heard this before, and that's why we delve into this, because I think it's really important to take this on board. And aligned to this, episode 194 is Alper Erdős. Alper Erdős is co-founder of Flola. Flola is a sales companion for modern sales revenue teams to keep those deals flowing. So we've talked about the end of the buying process, sales process, and now we're talking about the kind of a bit in the middle, kind of flowing. And Alper says that psychology unleashes the real problem in sales and talks about the 3 things buyers want. And this is availability, autonomy, and authority. He explains each of those 3 elements and really understanding what's changed in the buying process, why these things are so important, very much what I said before about buyers being so far through their buying process before they're engaging with the seller, and the authority to be able to take away that information and, you know, autonomy, take away that information and make decisions on their own. So do you have all of that collateral in place at the right time? So it's really understanding what the buyer needs when the buyer needs it, and that's through these 3 key elements. So make sure you go into episode 194 and listen to Alper Erdős really kind of talk through what Flola does in order to augment this process and help your buyers to make the decisions they need to make. So episode 196, I spoke to Wissam Tabbara. Now, Wissam Tabbara is a serial founder and CEO of TrueBase. TrueBase is an intelligent search platform that has a unique search system that makes finding information easier and faster. I mean, he said from the prospecting top of funnel would be on average 10 minutes to find a lead. They can cut that down to 1 or 2 minutes. But they're not just finding a lead, there's so much more information that you need and you're able to gather in order to help you to move that lead through the prospecting process into the funnel. So it's the right lead, the right prospect, right time, right product, and really understanding what are their motivations, what's happening in their organizations. So it's gathering so much more insightful data to help the buyers at the prospecting stage. So Wissam talks about crafting a concise one-liner description for your business. Because he has been a serial founder and raised funds from investor, he really understands the process, and he mentors others through that process as well. And he says that your one-liner description for your business is an art worth mastering, saying that in business, more isn't always better. And he's learned this as well. He's coming from a business but key engineering background, and says that this is a real advantage when you're going for funding. You get the greater part of funding, because not only do you understand, well, he understands the kind of sales and the operation of selling, and, you know, being able to precisely in a pithy way pack a punch with your one-line description of your business, so you're conveying that quickly and easily to your investors. He says the one-liner is very much like a handshake, but it's so not only about understanding the operation of sales, but also understanding what the product does for the customer, what the outcome the customer needs, and being able to convey and communicate that is critically important. So you have got to listen and follow Wissam Tabbara. He's got so much knowledge and experience and comes up with some amazing insights. So I was really lucky to have him on the podcast and learn lots from him, and you will too. Okay, we're 200th episode is coming up soon, so I'll just talk about one other person. Justin Lee. Now, I met Justin Lee. We've been following each other for a while online, but I actually only met him recently at the Institute of Sales Professionals. Now, this is the professional body of salespeople in the UK. I've spoken there as well. And Justin Lee spoke at an event where I've got two other people that will be coming on the podcast that also spoke. Absolutely incredible. And I wanted to get him on because I really like his insight and his honesty. And this very much comes through in the way that he coaches leaders and what he has to say. So his second book is called Coaching Leaders to Coach for Sales Success. Now, Justin shares the gaps in his leadership that made him recognize the importance of being more customer focused in his approach to sales. So you can see that's why I love what he has to say, because that's exactly aligned to Scale Your Sales framework. Now, he talks about the imposter syndrome being a catalyst for growth. So again, we kind of like really shared insights around all of this. I mean, I was saying that imposter syndrome, so many people are getting on the bandwagon and talking about this, but surely that's the only way to learn. You've got to make yourself uncomfortable in order to learn something new and then become comfortable. You're going to feel like an imposter. It's quite natural. And it tends to be a label on women, but it's not like men don't have that too. We do that all the time. And I love what he said, a catalyst to growth. He also shares his journey as a sales leader, such as his many failures that he talks about and mistakes, and how this was his light bulb moment to lead him to realize that coaching rather than directing can help translate into improvements and developments, and eventually leads to higher sales performance. I absolutely loved his honesty and his vulnerability and his real insight. So make sure you hit up Jason Lee. My guests are so giving of their experience and insights that you absolutely must connect with them on LinkedIn, tell them that you heard them on the podcast, and please do share the insights that you gain from listening to these experts. Now, to ensure that you do not miss any future episodes, please subscribe to Scale Your Sales podcast. You can do that on your favorite channel, or you can go to scaleyoursales.co.uk/podcast, where you'll see the listing of all podcasts on my website and the links to each of the episodes with descriptions. I'm also on YouTube. We have a YouTube show, so you can subscribe to it there. Janice B. Gordon YouTube show, the podcast there. Please do connect. please do connect with these experts, because they do share their time so generously. So connect with them on LinkedIn and always say that you heard them on the podcast. But please do comment, connect with me. I love to hear from people that listen to the podcast and what they gained, what the insights were. It really helps me to understand from your comments what you want to hear from me, who I need to get on. And if you've got any recommendations of experts in the field, experts that can share, you know, their experience of managing sales team, of growing companies, you know, whether they're in large companies or smaller companies, founders often can share insights because it's very close to them. But I also speak to the CEOs, CROs of larger sales leaders of larger organizations as well, because it's great to get their insights. Now, please help others gain these insights by sharing this episode with others, and sharing your views with reviews. So please do rate and review the podcast. It helps more people find and learn from these fantastic experts. It has been such an honor. Such an honor. I have grown so much from talking to 200 or so experts in the field at the coalface, really understanding what's happening in their world, how they're impacting their customers and their buyers, and how the industry has changed. Now, think about it. We're coming up to our 4th year. When we started, that was pre-pandemic, and that's why I'm constantly reviewing who's on the podcast. So we're not churning out the same thing, constantly moving forward and trying to understand what's relevant to you, what you want to hear, what you need to know. I have learned so much, and I really hope you have too. It has been such an honor. I feel so privileged to meet such incredible people. I feel also so proud to be part of the sales industry. And I really feel that my aspect of sales, which is customer experience, customer excellence, brings and drives sales. But I really do feel that the industry is coming round to what I've been talking about for perhaps the last 10 years, how important it is. I have grown so much and learned so much, and I really hope you do too. So here's to the next 200 episodes of Scale Your Sales podcast. Keep it growing, keep sharing your comments, keep sharing it to your friends and colleagues, and let's make this industry more diverse, more customer focused, more relevant to our customers, and then we are going to accelerate revenues. So in that order. Thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you for celebrating my 200th episode. I really appreciate you. And please do comment. Take care of yourself. Thank you. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Scale Your Sales podcast. If you like this discussion, feel free to listen to other episodes or watch the captioned show on YouTube and subscribe to future episodes. I would really appreciate it if you would leave a positive review on iTunes. Thank you.